Our next speaker is Hesham El-Meligy. He's the chairman of the Staten Island Libertarian Party and founder of Muslims for Liberty. Now, you might think like, okay, now we've got another group that we're segregating in and identifying and, you know, identity politics and you know, really? But I got to tell you why this is so important. And I have to, you know, some of us just can never shut up about being veterans, right? But when we were getting ready to deploy, everything we got about the Iraqi people was some form of dehumanization. They actually identify this process as dehumanization of the enemy. You know why? Because human beings really don't like killing each other. I know, shocking. You have to be a really good leader in the military sense to so subvert the human nature of cooperation and love and compassion to get people to kill without questioning. So it's almost sad to say, it really is kind of pathetic, but when you step back and consider the broader American conversation right now, I'm really glad that there's someone here to break it down for all the people who need to hear it this way, remind them, no, really, Muslims are people too. With that, ladies and gentlemen, Hesham El-Meligy.
What up, New York? Assalamu alaikum. I greet you with the greeting of peace. I'm coming, thank you, Andrew, my campaign worker back there from 2 years ago, one of the best libertarian workers in the entire state and maybe the country. Thank you for all that you did for me. Can I take this to the side? Yeah. So, thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much, Ian, for organizing this great event, LibertyFest NYC. Looking forward to many more in the coming years. Okay, so the war on terror is a war on you. It's not going to stop with Muslims. It already started with white people, for lack of a better term. If you saw in Chicago, the Chicago 5 that were arrested a couple of years ago, also an informant from the FBI, cooked the entire plot, and then attached a few gullible people into it. So, yours truly 200 pounds ago. This is wrong, it should have said 250 pounds ago. Now, please, if you look at the red light, you did not see this picture. This is the logo of Muslims for Liberty, an organization that I co-founded in 2012 with 3 other, one friend and 2 who became friends, and we became a family overnight. You can see the Tree of Liberty and Muslims for Liberty, the name. When Ron Paul won New Hampshire, remember? I said, that's it, I have to do something from my own side. So I founded the website Muslims for Liberty. I went to GoDaddy and just, you know, registered the domain. Muslims for Liberty, the number 4.org.net, whatever. And then I called my best friend Rami Osman in Virginia and I told him what I did. He said, I'm with you. And then during the call, after a few minutes, I said, shouldn't we have Googled that name before we actually did registration? So we did Google the name and we discovered, this is Rami, by the way, standing outside of the FBI building with the sign saying the FBI are good at catching people who they trick into becoming terrorists. We're going to talk more about this. So we discovered from the Google search that we did that there is a Muslims for Liberty Facebook page. So we contacted the admins. Turns out to be Will Coley. You know this guy? Will Coley from Tennessee. He is very nice. And that's him at Pork Fest last year, cooking for like a few hundred people and feeding them for a couple of nights. because Pork Fest coincided with the month of Ramadan, where Muslims fast from dawn to sundown. So I think he cooked roughly 600 meals. This year he cooked 3,000 meals at Pork Fest a couple of months back. And with him, of course, Mr. Davi Barker. I mean, I don't think I need to say much about Davi. Bitcoin, not bombs, shiny badges, and prolific writer and author. The non-aggression principle in the Quran. Quran chapter 2, verse 256. La ikraha fi ddin. This is the beginning of this verse. Basically it says there is no compulsion in matters of religion. But scholars of tafsir, explanation of the Quran, expanded this. There is no compulsion, period. If you have a choice in something, you should not be coerced into either or more than one choice. So it's up to you, and that's the non-aggression principle in the Quran. And this verse, or part of the verse, is the slogan of the organization Muslims for Liberty. And you can see it the verse on top here. This is the same part of the verse on the flag, as you can see. Now we're going to have a little bit of survey. Who here thought that ISIS has anything to do with Islam? You watched TV, you read the paper. Can I see hands? Okay. So we're going to do some optimization, be careful, this is very important, the coming one. We're going to use advanced tools. Just zip open this part and open this part of the brain, because we're going to brainwash it. Malcolm X said, "I'm for truth no matter who tells it. I am for justice no matter who it is for or against. I'm a human being first and foremost, and as such, I am for whoever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole." He summarized Islam in this quote. This is the aim of Islamic teachings. Before I get to the war on terror part, just some brief definitions. Arabs versus Muslims. I'm an Arab. I was born in Egypt. You can see Egypt between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. There are 22 Arab countries representing only 20% of the world Muslims. Those are the 22 countries and 4 observer states in the Arab League, including Brazil and Venezuela and India. There are 50 Muslim majority countries around the world, the colorful areas, including Indonesia, on the east here, as you can see. From the top 21 largest Muslim populations, only 8 Arab countries make the list. And that includes India, Russia, and China, top 21 Muslim populations in the world. The largest Muslim population is in Indonesia, followed by Pakistan. Both are not Arab countries. They are Muslim majority countries. Followed by India, not even a Muslim majority country, but it has the 3rd largest Muslim population in the world. We have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5 is Egypt, where I'm from, right here, to the first Arab country. If you go down, you'll see Russia down here, the 21st largest Muslim population in the world. The word Allah to the left here is Allah in Arabic, in calligraphy. Many people, of course, say Allah is my God and this and that. So is it Allah versus God or Allah equals God? Arabic Allah, Hebrew Elohim, Aramaic Ilah. You can see the similarity even phonetically. Those are the 3 Semitic languages. And of course, Aramaic is the language that Jesus, may peace be upon him, spoke. So when we say Allah, we mean God, but Allah is much older than God, I mean, linguistically speaking, because the English language did not exist until the year 1066. So we're not even 1,000 years into the English language. So Allah, Elohim, and Ilah, way before the word God, whether capital or small g. Now Islam versus Muslims. It's common sense. Christian versus Christianity, Jews versus Judaism, and so much, so forth. Libertarian versus libertarianism. We have so-called libertarians who do not adhere to the non-aggression principle, who want to bomb this and bomb that, including some people who say that they have libertarian blood running in their veins. Jeb Bush, you can get that? Okay. This was an advertisement that Pamela Geller put in the subway system here in New York and other countries. You can see the part of a verse, always taking part of a verse out of context. And, I don't need to say much. Many people take things on face value, including me. I mean, we ingest what we see. So, young and old, we get impressioned by things. If this is in your face, you will have a connection in your mind. That's why I said we're going to brainwash it. This is the same image next to the clock on the 23rd Street subway station, and this is actually on 53rd Street. Somebody took it into their own hand and said, "Caution, this is a war propaganda," which basically it is. This didn't go without a fight. Good people pushed back and put ads to counter those hateful ads. United Methodist Women, Sojourners, and Rabbis for Human Rights. And we come to the verse that every Islamophobe loves to start with. Kill them wherever you find them. The problem is they don't include the first word in the verse. There is a missing word. No, it doesn't say kill them without them when you see it. But anyway, so here's the verse. And slay them wherever you catch them and turn them blah, 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 blah. Okay, and I think it indicates that there's a context, right? I mean, fair-minded people would say so. So let's take just the one before and see what it says. Fight in the cause of Allah those who fight you. Mic drop. Okay. Do I need to go on? But do not transgress. This is direct quote from the Quran, people. The verse immediately before, which they omitted the first word of anyway. Okay? So you can see what's going on here, and it's been going for decades. Relations with other people. Allah forbids you not, with regard to those who fight you not for your faith, nor drive you out of your homes from dealing kindly and justly with them, for Allah loveth those who are just. This is basically repeated in the Quran, similar to parents. Deal with your parents kindly and justly. So if you're not fighting me for my faith and kicking me out of my home like in a war or whatnot, I deal kindly and justly with you. Okay. Who here heard the word taqiyya? Can I see hands? Taqiyya. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, people. You didn't hear taqiyya? Okay. Anyway, so this is another one that says, basically, I'm now lying to you. And the first chance that I have, I will stab you in the back. This is what the Islamophobes want you to believe. Okay? Moving on. Sanctity and worth of life. It's mentioned in the Torah, which is part of, the Old Testament and the New Testament, so also the Abrahamic religions. On that account, we ordained for the children of Israel, the Israelites, that if anyone slew a person, unless it's for murder or for spreading mischief in the land, it's as if he slew the whole people. Basically, kill one, you killed all, save one, you saved all. Okay. Rules of engagement in a declared war. Not up to me to go, I saw somebody oppressing a Muslim, I go kill him. No. Doesn't work that way. Declared war. Don't kill a child, a woman, elderly or sick. Do not practice treachery and mutilation. Do not slaughter animals except for food. Do not destroy villages, towns, spoil cultivated fields. Do not kill monks in monasteries. Do not kill those sitting in places of worship. And no one may punish with fire except the Lord of fire. Remember when ISIS burned this Jordanian pilot? This is an order from Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him. So how in the world are they following Islam or even know anything about Islam? Quotes from Prophet Muhammad in the last sermon, the farewell sermon, forbidding usury. And of course this comes with the Islamic economy, which is basically free market capitalism, but for another time we'll talk about it. It is true that you have certain rights with regard to your women, but they also have rights over you. Remember that you have taken them as your wives only under Allah's trust and with His permission. If they abide by your right, then to them belongs the right to be fed and clothed in kindness. Do treat your women well and be kind to them, for they are your partners and committed helpers. I once was watching CNN right after 9/11, and this guest said the last thing that the Prophet said, kill Jews and Christians. I swear, I'm not making this up. This is the last sermon. All mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab and vice versa. Also, a white has no superiority over black, nor a black has any superiority over white. 1400 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? When we talk about criticizing any country in the world, any country is three parts: land, air, water, people, government. Somebody once asked me, what about animals? I said, let's add them to people for now. But anyway, for the purpose of the point of criticizing governments or whatnot, when we talk about countries and curse and those Americans or those Iranians or those and that, we're not talking about people. We're talking about the government. Our government is very good in renaming, their enemies or their friends. Those are terrorists, those are this and that, depending on the time, depending on the theater of action that is happening. This is an example after the slaying of the soldier in England a year or two ago. People are condemning this in England. This website is saying, don't believe a word they say. The principle of taqiyya, here it is, authorizes them to lie. And then, again, a part of a verse or a verse to to confuse people and make them hate not only the person who did this, but everybody in his group or her group. This is a tree outside the mosque in Cairo. What do you see here? Can anybody tell me what do you see? 9/11, correct? Okay. So it was posted, Islam Exposed, the truth about Islam, one of the most vitriol pages on Facebook. But basically, my comment is down here. Hey folks, this is not reading 911. This is the Arabic writing for Allah, but the first letter from this side is not in the picture. The person who took this lived in Cairo, and he knows exactly what this represents. But you see what's going on. I quoted early, 24 shares only, but those get shared tens of thousands of times, and you can imagine what happens. Obama is a Muslim. Okay. If you're not careful, the newspapers or the government or some groups will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. Malcolm X again. And you can see, Danny maybe knows this better than me, the camera takes a certain angle of things, doesn't get you the entire context. So what's in the camera can very well be much different than what the context talks about. So be careful in what you read or watch. The sign of intelligence is that you're constantly wondering, but idiots are always dead sure about every damn thing they're doing in their life. Can somebody play the video? It's 2 minutes. Judge Napolitano.
Does the government work for us or do we work for the government? Can the federal government take credit for saving us from a plot of its own creation? Has the federal government kept us safe, or does it just want us to think that it has kept us safe? The FBI has foiled about 17 plots to kill Americans during the past 10 years. What it will not tell you is that there have been 20 foiled plots, and of them, 3 were interrupted by members of the public. The 17 that were interrupted by the feds were created by the feds. They all have a common and reprehensible thread. They were planned, plotted, controlled, and carried out by the federal government itself. In all of these 17 cases, from the Fort Dix 6 to the Lackawanna 7 to the Portland parade bomber, the feds found young men of Muslim backgrounds. They befriended them, cajoled them, and persuaded them that they could change the world by killing Americans. In some cases, the federal agents used third parties to act as middlemen. The third parties were typically persons who had been convicted of crimes and who, in return for leniency at their own sentencings, were willing to work with the same feds who prosecuted them in order to help the feds entrap whomever else those feds were pursuing. Thus, in all 17 of these cases, because of the command and control of federal agents, no one was ever in danger, no one was harmed, no bomb went off, and no property was damaged. The defendants were essentially charged and convicted for playing a game with federal agents. You get the picture. Are any of these plots criminal? Can the government just pick and choose whom to seduce and then lower the boom at the right time and arrest its would-be Confederates? Is this a proper and efficient use of law enforcement resources? The answers to these questions are obvious, and they are not good. The courts have made this legal, so long as the target of these plots had a mental predisposition to cause harm. But none of this keeps us safe. All of this makes us less free, as any one of us can be entrapped. And we are fools if we praise the government for exposing a plot of its own creation and saving us from a danger that never existed. Can the government break the law in order to enforce it? Well, when it does, it becomes a law unto itself, and the rule of law dies as the feds decide whom to target and whom to trap. Think about it. Are we really safe in a false sense of security? Why do we pay the government to trick us into believing it is keeping us safe? When no one is harmed and the government controls the plot, aren't we just punishing someone for his thoughts? And in a free society, aren't free people free to think as they wish? This must be so, because if the government can punish our thoughts, there are no limits to its power.
Thank you. So basically, I don't know if you heard it or but he was talking about the many cases of terrorism that the FBI foiled after 9/11. 20 in total, 3 were foiled by people, not the government, and the 17 that were foiled by the FBI were created by the FBI through the use of an undercover agent or informant prying on an ignorant or vulnerable individual or individuals. So I'm going to go very fast now because I'm out of time, but this is the... Thank you, Danny, by the way. Okay. This is terror, and you see the T is between parentheses because it's an error. That's the point. This is a documentary done by 2 friends of mine. They filmed live an FBI sting without the knowledge of the FBI. They got to the informant, and he agreed to work with them, and also the target of the informant that the FBI sent to entrap. This is playing now at the IFC. Go see it until Tuesday. Don't miss this, really. The demographics units in the intelligence department of NYPD that supposedly is now defunct. They denied it existed, but somebody leaked those documents from inside the NYPD. The objectives: identify and map ethnic residential blah blah blah. Map. Okay, there is no ifs and buts about this. This is profiling. Those are the 29 ancestries of interest. All of them are Muslim majority country except India, but it has the 3rd largest majority country, Muslim majority anyway. This is the mosque that I go to on Staten Island usually. That's a look from inside. This is when it's full in holidays and Ramadan. And this is when it's like everyday thing. That's me, right here. And this is Hesham El-Meligy, the informant that was about to entrap me, myself. After 9/11, right before the Iraq War or right after, he became a regular in our mosque. Egyptian like myself, Muslim like myself. I used to go much more than I go now, so anyway, I was there a lot. We have the 5 daily prayers, as you might have heard, so I see him there all the time. One time he called me after a prayer, leaving the mosque in this area, and said, I am with the brothers. This is in 2003. And we were living under extreme fear because you can imagine after 9/11 what happened. Just go and read the headlines. So I said, what do you mean? We are brothers. That's how we look at each other, humanity in general. You are my brothers and sisters. So he said, no, I'm with the brothers in Afghanistan. This was either a complete nutcase, reckless statement to make at such time, or there was something wrong with it. But my fear kicked in and I yelled at him right in the middle of the mosque, you shouldn't be talking like that, you don't know who's listening and who's recording, not knowing that he's the one recording for the NYPD. This is after he'd done his damage. This is the Washington Post in 2007, after he entrapped a mentally schizophrenic young man, 19-year-old from Staten Island, and a kid, 21-year-old, not a kid, but 21-year-old from Brooklyn with an IQ of 78. This was done pre-trial testing, okay? He cooked the entire plot based on his handlers at the NYPD. Even the backpack that they were supposedly going to put the explosives in, he provided it to them. The kid is shown on video that he filmed inside his car in court saying, you know what? Let me ask my mother before I do anything. The one with the 78 IQ. And this one is a terrorist serving 30 years in federal prison. I witnessed this son of a bitch inciting that other kid, the 21-year-old in Brooklyn, not knowing what's going on. The kid was a steward in a bookshop right next to the mosque on 5th Avenue in Brooklyn in Bay Ridge. So I used to go there to buy my calling cards, whatever I need to buy right next to the mosque, very convenient. So one time I entered the mosque, the bookstore, and only him and the kid there. And from the first few sentences of the body language, you get what's happening. He was basically saying, Americans must pay for Abu Ghraib and this and that. I told him, we have a verse in the Quran that says, لا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. No body shall bear the burden of the blame of something except the one who did it. This is also in the Bible, I believe. That's one. Two, most Americans, true until today, have no clue what's really happening over there. So it's not fair, it's not Islamically acceptable that anyone must pay except the one who did the crime or the mistake or whatever. He stuck to his heels. I had to leave. I didn't know at the time what was going on. It was only speech, and I knew that I'm going to see him again, and maybe there's another chance to talk. Unfortunately, I was too late. The two kids were arrested right before the RNC convention in New York City in 2004, when Bush got the second nomination. Almost always, there is some major event that these cases get busted before. Go back to the headlines and see how it was going. I witnessed the NYPD entrapping two young Muslim vulnerable kids. And I have other cases. At the time also, this is the mosque from the street. This will be fixed soon, hopefully. This area here on the left, this small building, is the entrance. By chance, the picture was taken when a police car was going. But right here is the entrance for the cars, and right here on this curb, a weird small truck was parked many times when I go into the mosque and out for a few months or maybe over a year in 2002, 3, and 4. We used to joke between each other and saying, well, maybe it's the surveillance truck. Good, let them learn something. This was our attitude. Not that it's acceptable, it's constitutional, this and that, but you know what? Maybe they will hear the truth, you know, at the same time that this informant was at the mosque. So we were being surveilled. This is, in 1 minute, Albanian locations of concern. So now, this is the ethnic profiling. Syrian locations. Newark, New Jersey, out of jurisdiction. Nassau County, Suffolk County, and Patterson, New Jersey. Target of surveillance, place mosque under observation before and during Jum'ah, which is the Friday prayer, record license plates and capture video and photographic record of those in attendance. Under what constitution are they working exactly? Not even in New York City. Okay? Last thing, Egyptian. I'm Egyptian, so I saved the good for last. The Egyptian report. Now here it is. Let me go through. Okay. This report merely represents the community as is today. The cultural and economic centers of the Egyptian community are changing, primarily through the growing numbers of Coptic Christian Egyptians. The Coptic community, presently largest in Staten Island, represents the majority of Egyptian community in New York City. This report does not represent the Coptic Egyptian community and is merely an insight into the Muslim Egyptian community of New York City. There you go, there's the religious profiling. They mapped everything, Egyptian locations of interest, the entire city, and they went borough by borough and precinct by precinct. And they have the Zagat survey, the NYPD Zagat survey to halal food places. So you might want to go to the AP website and download those reports. They're going to tell you some good places to eat. And just to tell you, 37 pages of this crap. This is the last thing, promise, a part of a letter to the editor that I sent. The Constitution and Bill of Rights were written during some of the most threatening periods in the early history of the nation. Yet, having suffered under the king's abuses and understanding the potential for future abuses, the framers mandated obtaining search warrants to perform surveillance, and that it must be based on probable cause of suspicion of illegal activity, and must specify the location, property, and person to be searched and surveilled. This is the Fourth Amendment. Thank you very much.